The courtroom was cold, not because of the air conditioning, but because of the eyes staring at her. People whispered. Some laughed. Others just watched, like she didn't belong. A young black girl, no older than 16, walked in slowly. Her hoodie was plain grey. Her jeans were clean but old. She held her backpack tight against her chest, like it was her shield. Her name was Emily. The guards didn't look at her twice. They just pointed toward the chair. "Sit there. The judge will be here soon," one of them said flatly. Emily didn't respond. She walked quietly to the table where defendants usually sat. She didn't have a lawyer. She didn't need one. Everyone in that courtroom thought the same thing. Just another troubled kid. But Emily wasn't what they thought. Hit a like button and share your thoughts in the comments, along with the city you are watching from. Now let's continue with the story. Judge Ronald Hargrove was about to find out. He entered 5 minutes later. The courtroom stood up. Hargrove sat down without looking at anyone. "Be seated," he said. He was old, maybe in his 60s. His face was stiff, lips thin, eyes cold. He looked down at Emily's file like it was garbage. Then he looked at her. "What's your name, girl?" Emily raised her eyes, calm, focused. "Emily." "Emily what?" "Just Emily." The courtroom chuckled. Hargrove didn't. "This isn't a joke. Give me your full name." Emily didn't blink. "Emily Aquila." Hargrove's eyebrow twitched. "Fine. Now, tell me why you're here." "I'm being accused of hacking into the school district's database." He leaned forward. "Did you?" "Number." He narrowed his eyes. "Truth or lie?" Emily smiled, just a little. "Truth." He laughed. The courtroom laughed with him. "This'll be fun," the judge said. "Let's play a little game, shall we? You say it's not true, I say it is. Let's play. Truth or lie." The courtroom grew quiet. Everyone was watching now. But Emily? She didn't flinch. She sat back, folded her hands, and said quietly, "All right, let's play." Judge Hargrove leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a smug grin on his face. He loved control. He loved when people feared him. But most of all, he loved proving people wrong, especially kids like Emily. "Let's start simple," he said. "You say you didn't hack the system, but your name, Emily Aquila, was found logged into the administrator's account. How do you explain that?" Emily sat up straight, her voice calm. "That's not proof. That's evidence of a login name. Anyone could have used it." "Truth or lie?" the judge asked, mocking her. Emily didn't blink. "Truth." He smirked. "Then who did it, Miss Aquila?" "I don't know yet," she said. "But I have a list of 10 people who had access to the password. Would you like their names?" A murmur rose from the gallery. The judge blinked. "You have a list?" Emily nodded. She opened her backpack, pulled out a thin folder, and held it up. A bailiff took it and passed it to the judge. Judge Hargrove scanned it. His eyes narrowed. "How did you even get this?" "I requested access to public school records through the state's open records law," she said. "It's called FOIA, Freedom of Information Act." The judge looked up slowly. "A 16-year-old knows how to file a FOIA request?" Emily looked him straight in the eye. "Do you want the legal code for it too?" Gasps filled the room. A man in a suit near the back leaned forward. Another lawyer raised his eyebrows. The courtroom wasn't laughing anymore. Judge Hargrove cleared his throat. He hated being surprised. "You said 10 people had the password. That includes you?" "Number, I never had the password," Emily said, "but someone else logged in using a device with my name on it." He frowned. "That sounds like a lie." "It's not," she said, "because my school-issued laptop was stolen 3 days before the hack." Did you report the theft? Yes, and I brought the police report. She reached into her bag again and pulled out another paper. The bailiff handed it to the judge. Now Hargrove looked uncomfortable. It was real, dated and signed. Emily wasn't lying. She was telling the truth. And one by one, the walls he'd built started to crack. The courtroom was no longer smiling. Judge Hargrove tapped his gavel lightly, not to silence anyone, just to steady his own hand. He leaned forward. You seem very prepared, Miss Aquila. Almost too prepared. Emily tilted her head. Is that a problem? He squinted. Number, but I've been a judge for 30 years. You can't just walk in here with a few papers and expect me to believe everything you say. Let's see what you really know. He straightened in his chair. Let's play a different version of truth or lie. This time I ask the questions. Emily nodded slowly. Go ahead. The courtroom leaned in. Hargrove licked his lips and asked, What is the exclusionary rule? Without missing a beat, Emily replied, It means any evidence obtained illegally can't be used in court. He blinked. What does habeas corpus mean? It means a person has the right to be brought before a judge to hear the charges against them. And what's the Miranda warning? Emily gave a small smile. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. People turned to look at each other. Some jaws dropped. Hargrove's hands clenched around the bench. What's mens rea? Emily's voice didn't shake. It's Latin. It means guilty mind, the intention behind a crime. There was silence. Deep silence. The judge tried one more. Tell me the difference between civil and criminal law. Emily leaned back in her chair. Criminal law involves crimes against the state like theft or murder. Civil law involves disputes between people or organizations, like contracts or property issues. Criminal cases can lead to prison. Civil cases usually lead to fines. The room was frozen. Hargrove stared at her. His face was blank, but his mind was racing. Who is this girl? He sat back slowly. Where did you learn all this? Emily looked down at her hands, then back at him. I read, she said. A lot. My mom used to say that the law was made to protect the powerful. I wanted to understand it so it could protect people like us too. Her voice cracked just a little at the end. And in that moment, for the first time, the courtroom felt warm. The judge's fingers tapped nervously on the bench. His jaw was tight, but his mind was more troubled than he let on. Emily had answered every question perfectly. She didn't sound like a kid. She didn't even sound like a regular law student. She sounded like someone who lived and breathed justice. Miss Aquila, Judge Hargrove said slowly, you've proven you're knowledgeable, but we still haven't proven who committed the hack. Without that, your case remains. Your Honor, Emily interrupted gently, I have something else. She pulled a small flash drive from her backpack and held it up. This contains a forensic analysis of the login used to hack the school's database. Hargrove raised a brow. And how did you get a forensic analysis? Emily smiled. I emailed a cybersecurity professor from a local university. He agreed to help for free. A few people in the gallery gasped. The bailiff took the drive and plugged it into the courtroom monitor. Emily walked to the screen confidently. Here, she pointed, is the IP address used during the breach. It doesn't match my home's internet. It doesn't match the school's Wi-Fi either. She clicked again. This address is registered to a private law firm by the name of Hargrove and Willis. The room went still. Judge Hargrove blinked. Excuse me, he said. but his voice was quieter now. Emily looked at him calmly. "Your former firm. Before you became a judge, your son, Preston Hargrove, works there now as an IT consultant." A collective gasp echoed across the courtroom. The judge's face turned red. "Objection!" he shouted, but there was no one to object to. Emily continued. "Preston also volunteers at the same school district. He had access to every staff password, including the administrator's." She paused. "He logged in from his work computer. The timestamp matches the exact minute the data was copied." The judge stood up. "This is outrageous. You're accusing my son?" Emily looked him dead in the eye. "Number, the evidence is." The room was silent. You could hear a pin drop. Judge Hargrove stood frozen. The name Preston Hargrove still echoed in the air like a thunderclap. His face turned from red to pale. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Emily stepped back from the monitor, calm, steady. "I didn't come here to embarrass you," she said. "I came here to clear my name." The gallery stirred. One of the older lawyers whispered to another, "She's not just defending herself. She's flipping the whole courtroom." Judge Hargrove finally spoke. "My courtroom is not the place for these accusations." Emily looked straight at him. "But you made it a game." Gasps. Again. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't crying. She was standing her ground with logic, facts, and quiet fire. A woman in the back, dressed in a navy suit, rose to her feet. She was from the State Legal Ethics Board. She'd been quietly observing the entire hearing from the start. "Your Honor," she said clearly, "given the possible conflict of interest involving your son, I recommend you recuse yourself from this case immediately." The judge's shoulders tensed. I don't need to." She cut him off, politely but firmly. "You've played games with a minor. You ridiculed her intelligence. And now, her evidence has led to a direct connection with your own family. That Judge Hargrove is biased." The judge sat down slowly, no longer proud, no longer smug, just quiet. Another voice called from the crowd. It was the dean of a local law school. "I'd like to speak with Miss Aquila after the hearing," he said. "She belongs in a courtroom but on the other side of that bench." Applause broke out. A wave of emotion crossed Emily's face, but she held it in. She'd come this far. The new judge walked in 30 minutes later. A woman, calm, focused, and clearly unimpressed by drama. She had been called in urgently after Judge Hargrove was escorted out of the courtroom for review. Emily sat quietly. Her fingers gently tapped the edge of her chair, but her eyes stayed sharp. She had waited for this moment not just for justice, but to prove something bigger. That truth still mattered, that even a young black girl in a hoodie had power. The new judge spoke clearly. "Miss Emily Aquila, after reviewing the evidence, the court finds you." The room held its breath. "Not guilty." There was a pause. Then cheers erupted. Emily closed her eyes for a second, holding in the tears. Her fists slowly unclenched, her heart raced. But her voice was steady when she stood up. "Thank you, Your Honor." The judge gave her a small smile. "Number, thank you for reminding us what justice is supposed to look like." As Emily turned to leave, a crowd had gathered in the hallway. Reporters, lawyers, students, professors. Everyone wanted to meet the girl who challenged a courtroom and won. But she didn't rush to speak. She looked around the crowd and saw her mum. Her mother stood at the back, tears in her eyes, hands clasped over her mouth. Emily walked straight into her arms. "You did it," her mum whispered. "You didn't just survive. You soared." Emily had never seen her name in bold letters before. 16. Year, old legal genius shocks courtroom. Black teen outsmarts judge, wins case in stunning fashion. Emily Aquila, a future Supreme Court justice. Her story had gone viral overnight. News anchors debated it. Legal podcasts broke it down. Influencers made videos praising her courage and brilliance. Hashtags like #Justice for Emily and #Legal Queen trended for days. But Emily wasn't chasing fame. She still walked home from school the same way. She still tied her shoes the same way. She still studied under dim light while her mom worked late shifts. What had changed were the opportunities. One morning, her mom opened an envelope with trembling hands. "Emily," she whispered, "you've been offered a full scholarship to Columbia University, pre-law." Emily stared at it, then sat down slowly. "Is this real?" Her mom hugged her. "It's real, baby. They said they watched the court footage. They said they've never seen anything like you." Other offers followed. Internships with major law firms, meetings with civil rights groups, even a sit-down invite from a U.S. senator. But the biggest moment came on a Saturday evening. She was invited to speak at a youth leadership conference in Atlanta. As she stood behind the podium, lights in her eyes, Emily looked out at hundreds of teensome, scared, some hopeful, some just like she once was. And she said, "They told me the courtroom wasn't my place. But the truth is, when you know your worth, every room is yours." Standing ovation. That night, Emily realized her story wasn't just about clearing her name. It was about opening doors for others. It had been years since that fateful day in the courtroom. Emily stood at the front of a packed courthouse. The courtroom was filled with reporters, politicians, and legal professionals. A small crowd of teenagers watched her from the back. She caught their gaze, and they nodded in solidarity. Emily had risen. She was now an attorney, one of the youngest senior partners at one of the most prestigious law firms in the country. Her work focused on justice reform, fighting for the underserved and advocating for changes to the legal system. It wasn't just about her career, it was about leaving a legacy. Behind her, a large plaque hung on the wall, "Emily Aquila, legal innovator and justice advocate." She smiled quietly to herself, remembering the first day she had ever stepped into this place, a scared teenager facing an impossible challenge. Now, she was the one everyone turned to for answers. The judge's chair she'd once stood before was vacant, a reminder of how much had changed in just a few years. Judge Hargrove was long gone, having faced consequences for his actions. The legal system had finally begun to address the corruption that had once rotted its core. Emily's phone buzzed. It was an alert for a new headline. "Emily Aquila named youngest member of the U.S. Supreme Court nominee panel." The tears she had once held back on that day in the courtroom finally came. Her mother was with her, as always. From the moment she was born, her mom had been her rock. They'd fought together against the world. They had come so far. Emily wiped her eyes and held her mother's hand. "You did this, sweetheart," her mom whispered. "You proved them wrong." Emily's gaze swept the room. A few of her old friends were sitting near the back. She saw the familiar faces of people who had doubted her. They weren't laughing now. They watched in awe. Emily stepped to the microphone, ready to deliver her speech. "Thank you all for being here," she began. "I stand here today, not as someone who overcame obstacles, but as someone who knows that the power of truth is unstoppable." She paused. "We need a justice system that reflects the people it serves, and I'm not here to be a part of the problem. I'm here to be part of the solution." The room erupted into applause, but Emily didn't hear the claps. She heard her mother's voice in her head. "You didn't just survive, Emily. You soared." She had soared, and now she was flying higher than anyone had ever imagined. If you love powerful courtroom dramas, shocking legal battles, and stories where justice wins, you're in the right place. Like this video if you believe in fighting for the truth. Comment below what was the most powerful moment of this case. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an explosive legal showdown. More gripping cases are coming soon, don't miss out.